Welcome to the Penguin Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tate. We are going to dive straight into the main event. David Regal is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to infusing meaning and storytelling into magic. He's a popular performer at the Magic Castle and has lectured around the world. He's also a longtime television writer and has served as the executive producer and co-head writer for the Carbonaro Effect. David and I had a wide-ranging conversation regarding his magic, his history in television writing, how writing for TV has influenced his approach to magic, and his work on the Carbonaro Effect. I caught up with David over a video call, and now you get to join our conversation. David Regal, thanks so much for joining me here on the Penguin Magic Podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you because I've gotten to produce some products with you in combination with Penguin, and I've looked up to you as a performer and a writer for a long time. I wanted to start off by asking, how did you get your start in television writing? I want to get to magic in a second, but you've written for some huge shows.
Well, most of the shows I've written for you've never heard of because they were dinky or flops or pilots or whatever the case may be. I'd say I had a very workmanlike run that occasionally hit a popular show, but most of them, I worked for networks. You didn't even know were networks. It's awkward to tell your mom, watch my show. I don't get that network. You actually do, Mom. You just don't know. You're there. So, yeah. But if I had to thank anyone, I think I'd thank Sunkissed. They took out the sugar, but they kept the flavor. Sunkissed.
Did you start out in advertising before you got into TV writing?
No. But I did do a lot of ads because I was with a comedy improv group for many years, and it's the way we all made our living. It paid a living wage. And the next most popular group in New York paid everyone nothing. So I got in with the living wage group, which helped. And we did a lot of work with advertising. They'd bring us in to sort of help design campaigns or bounce things around or brainstorm. And through that, I'd get occasionally hired to do commercials. And in the old business model, that was the way a young actor, which is what I was, could make a living while trying to sort other things out. You get a couple of commercials, could pay for your year. But things have changed since the old business model.
And was acting, improv, and writing first, or was magic first?
It's a difficult question to answer. All I can do is try and be honest about it. I've always loved magic since I was, a kid, a preteen, pouring through magic catalogs, discovering what a magic catalog is. And a friend of mine gave me, the Bible, the Tannen's hardbound magic catalog. If you remember those, they looked like a Bible. They were that thick. And so I was into a preteen, and the psychological underpinnings why we get interested in magic, I couldn't answer. But magic was precious to me. And in a home where there's a lot of discontent, like about 50% of the homes in America, no one was really getting along that well. And so we had a basement. It was the East Coast, not the West Coast. My magic, I remember vividly from preteen, was a sanctuary. It was part of it was an escape from the floors above. But of course, I was fascinated by magic and the methods and the plots, like we all are, and the horrible disappointments that we experience, and the things that you read in a book that you think, oh, this must be a joke chapter. This can't be the way it's done. All those common experiences that we all had, I had. But this is my long-winded way of saying magic has always held a precious place in my life that I was aware of even as a preteen. It was just solace or therapy, whatever you want to call it. It was serving an important function. Plus, I was doing kid shows even as a preteen. So, it was my business that my parents had to drive me to whenever I got a gig. So I bring this up because oddly, as I got older, first of all, I was very surprised. I still loved magic. I guess I assumed when I was a kid, oh, this is something kids do, and then I'll do something else. I didn't really know how things worked. I didn't have a battle plan, but it was this, deep, obsession, love, slash therapy. As I got into comedy, I did put magic into some of our sketches that we did with the improv group because I did like 2,000 shows with them, but they're like different reviews. We'd run a review for 6 months, and I changed the title and changed the improv forms and changed the sketches and open a new review. And these were true openings. Would get reviewed by the New York press, and it was for whatever reason we got a little bit of traction, enough to, keep everyone going. And we did 6 shows a week,
Wow.
every week. And the normal vacation weeks were our busy weeks.
Mhm.
So we did that, and we had a touring company that did colleges, and we had corporate work to bring in, even better gigs. And I always loved corporate work. A lot of people, kind of shit on it and whatnot. I loved it. I thought it was hysterical. Oh, we're gonna write a musical comedy about nuts and bolts. I mean, I thought that was. I mean, I did one for. I won't tell you the brand name because I don't disparage anyone.
Mhm.
Uh, but they made a margarine, or as they called it in the trade, edible fats. They were in the business of edible fats. So I thought that was hysterical. All these corporate gigs. So I wasn't ashamed of magic. I love magic, and we did it in many reviews and in many of the corporate gigs. It was really a great change up, just like a magician in a comedy club can be the best act of the night because people just get, joked out. And then a magician goes in there, it feels fantastic for the audience. Similarly, in a improv comedy situation, people forget that improvisation is taxing on the audience because they invest themselves in it in a way they don't when they're more sitting back watching some comedy taking place. If they're involved in, coming up with input and whatnot, it's exhausting for them. Even if it's a great show, it's almost like an athletic event that involved. And so when you alternate that with either sketches or, in the case of magic, a 10-minute magic chunk or a 6-minute or whatever it was that show, it worked really well.
Mhm.
When I then I had some years working as in production and TV development for an interactive TV company. And that took me sort of away from everything. That was one of these jobs that was like, however many hours a day you're awake, that's how much you're working for this company. But married with kids, I was very happy to do it. Then I snuck out to LA because this sort of corporate Rockefeller Center lifestyle was not me. I was tired of getting in that elevator every day with white men about a foot and a half taller than me. I would walk in, and they're all in suits. They seem to be all white. They're all a foot and a half taller than me. I thought, this is just strange, this weird sort of Stepford executive,
Mhm.
that I'm seeing going up in this elevator. But that's not what made me wanna leave. It's like it just wasn't a fun, creative experience working for this
Mhm.
company. It was creative, but, I didn't see that as, my future. A lot of people in the company hated each other and doors would slam. It's like, "Really?"
Mhm.
So I literally, made up lies. This is like, if there is a hell, I'm going possibly to hell for this. I'd make up lies about my ill mother and this and that so I could leave work, sneak to Los Angeles, and pitch TV show concepts.
Wow.
I know, it was ridiculous, and, I did get Tribune Entertainment, and realize it's 20 minutes since you asked the question how I got into TV.
Yeah.
Uh, but
No,
by doing
yeah.
but this is the
I'm
true answer.
I'm deeply fascinated by this, because I think when I first met you, I was trying to do the same thing and pitch things in LA and get a job as a writer, and so I'm fascinated by this story.
I didn't have a particularly easy time of anything,
Mhm.
and for a lot of different reasons, and I'll take as much blame as, anyone wants to, throw at me. I was naive, inept, maybe an idiot, but I kept trying, kept trying. And I did place a show with Tribune Entertainment out of Chicago, but a big, big media company.
Mhm.
They own stations and they did production and all that. So basically, I go back to LA and we're developing the show, with whatever it is, emails and phone calls. And at some point, my executive, the one guy, who's shepherding my show idea, which had improv in it, was like a sort of a TV version of an improv show. Uh, he said, "Well, we've reached the point we have to move to LA so we can continue this." I was in New York, and my wife was a very good sport. We had young kids, but she knew I was unhappy.
Mm.
So I said, "Can we try this?" And so we got out of New York and we went to LA, and I didn't have a job. There's no money in development, by the way, in case you're wondering. Zero money. Uh, Oddly, you always have to make a deal with the producers or the production company in case it moves forward in some way. And so that takes a while, and hammer this deal out and who gets what and all these events that, whatever, 99% of the time never happen. But, now I'm in LA and we're casting and we're going to comedy shows. We're looking for a host just for a pilot. And it was like going to be a cheap pilot. Like they call it a presentation pilot, which means it won't have all the bells and whistles, but let's decide what we can afford. And so stressful because those months, I was really just going off the savings from my executive job in Rockefeller Center. And they go fast. We're renting this place in Burbank with my kids and enrolling them in school. And finally, after, I think another year maybe of me just burning through money. On Wednesday, we had the whole thing cast. We were going to shoot this presentation pilot. And I think I got a call that Monday before. David, we were all let go. What do you mean? Tribune Entertainment did some crazy bloodletting.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and half or a giant chunk of their executive branch was just gone. And I said, "What happens?" And he goes, "I'm afraid it's not going forward." And so I had no money. I think I got a little something when they made the pilot. Even that was not riches. Uh, but I had no money. And so I was freaking out. And someone said, "Why don't you contact Peter Tolan, who is a big TV writer in LA?" So I don't know Peter Tolan. And they said, "He knows you." Because he, turns out, was a fan of the comedy group I was with. So I'm very reticent when it comes to social interactions. I know when I perform, I'm effusive, but socially, for whatever reason, God knows why we're wired the way we're wired, I'm an introvert. And my wife told me this into our marriage. She says, "You're an introvert, don't you?" And I said, "No, I'm not an introvert. You've seen my act." She goes, "You're an introvert." She had just read a book called The Introvert Advantage. She said, "Let's go through the list. How often do we go to a party? How often do we do this? I go, "Oh, damn." And I realized, yeah, in many ways, I'm introverted.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean I hate people. I love people. And that's, I think, my biggest asset when I do a good show. It's because I haven't hidden, that fact in some other, some veneer performance. So I do like people, but I'm socially reticent, and it's probably cost me jobs and whatnot, but it's too late now, Eric. I mean, now I'm taking it easy. But, anyhow, so that was hard for me to call Peter Toll and get in touch with him. I met with him, we had lunch, he said, "Write a script for me, I have this show that might go this year." And I wrote a spec script to sort of audition for, an entry level position on this show, and I got the entry level position. The show only went a few episodes, got canceled very fast, but it was my first anything.
Mhm.
And so it's always, for me, it was always up a little, down a little, up a little, down a little, up a little, down a little, because uh, my first decent paying job I was around 40 years old. I moved out here a little late. Uh, I uh, I think if I moved out in my 20s uh, and kept my wits about me, it would have been little easier because I'm not just making that up. When I turned 40 and had a decent paying job, that was a year when the writers of the Writers Guild like sued all of Hollywood,
Hmm.
a class action lawsuit about ageism. And the lawsuit was all about writers 40 and older not getting hired because of their age.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to join some lawsuit. I just wanted to work. I finally got a job. It's like, I don't want to end up some list. Maybe I was crazy,
Yeah.
but all I know is there was a settlement.
Mhm.
So, and they were suing everybody. I mean, every production company, and I mean, all the big names. And there was some settlement, but I just wanted to work, and I was always a little old, so I think whatever agency I was at, and I kept bouncing around. They all thought, maybe I'll get one more job, but they were not going to invest in a 40-year-old. They wanted to invest in a 25-year-old and get all those years.
As you grew as a writer, how did that change the way you created magic?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I was been in really good writing rooms and really awful ones. I think most people have been in both, and they're very, very different. And the good ones, sometimes are like the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Mm.
They actually are. You're laughing. Sometimes tears are coming down your face, and they're paying you. But a bad show is like a knife in the gut. I've looked across the table and seen men weeping. And it sounds impossible. Weren't you writing a comedy? Yes, we were writing a comedy. And I've been on staffs where everyone looked like the saddest people I've ever met. I was on a couple of staffs where people quit. And think about this.
Mhm.
These are people like me with, a wife and kids. I'm quitting. And I don't think they had another gig necessarily. It was just a poisonous atmosphere because, just to get kind of blunt about it, in the old business model, pre-streaming, uh, the biggest money in show business was in TV. And if you were at the top of that pyramid, and you had a piece of a hit show, you were going to get a check bigger than any other check in show business. All of show business.
Mhm.
That's how big the money was. So it attracted very aggressive people because they wanted to get up to the tippity top, and they would do anything. They would lie, cheat, and steal because that's just what they were. And I think everyone in TV has brushed up against those people. And sometimes you meet more of them, sometimes less of them. But yeah, in the old business model, there was extraordinary, you can't call it competition. You can call it connivery or something.
Mhm.
But man, it was epic. And now the business model has changed and it's not, the same world, but that's the world that I was working in.
And and so as you're writing for, television, you're also creating magic coming up at the
Oh, yeah.
console.
I didn't answer your question.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, sorry, I was trying to take it back there because I I I hear you on that front. I didn't get to work as deeply in television as you have, but I definitely got close enough that I experienced that. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering how this experience affected the way you create magic and routines.
Well, yeah, I'd like to answer it the way you phrased it the first time, and I forgot to answer it.
Mhm.
I always saw it as very, very similar work, and I'll tell you why. Uh, Trying to come up with a solution to a problem in a script. It could be that some character doesn't feel motivated, and you're trying to get them from here to there. Could be jokes that aren't working on some page. It could be you need a twist for the second act, and you don't know what it is. It's like a tangled string. And you gotta untangle it, undo this knot. The problem's the knot. And you gotta undo that knot. Very similar to a magic problem, which is just a tangled problem. It could be an effect you wish you could do. That's your tangled knot. It could be a good trick that has this crappy part in the middle. Ooh, how do you untangle that knot? Could be, a dream scenario that shouldn't be possible, that's never been done before. Is there a way to untangle that knot? So to me, all those thought challenges, creative challenges, whatever you're gonna call it, uh, I see them. It's like my head sees them as this tangled ball of string. And you pull at one thing. Sometimes you make the knot worse. We've all done that. And you kind of know it when that thing is undone. You know it. And I think that's what makes people good at those tasks good. You start like with magic. I'm sure you feel the same way, Eric. Sometimes you smell that you're going in the right direction. It's like you're walking in the wilderness, then you just get the smell. Oh, it's over here. And maybe you can't even articulate it better than that, but you've done it for a while and you just start to get a sense. And it's funny, we've all seen good magicians do bad tricks, or good technicians do bad tricks. We've seen this weird dichotomy with people who have skills in one area and are less skilled in another. And sometimes it doesn't really matter. They figure out how to magnify their skills and minimize their deficits. But another thing that magic, they attempt to find solutions in magic, and they attempt to find solutions in writing, have in common is that thing I talked about, smelling it. I think uh, there's another half of that, which is judgment.
Mhm.
In the case of comedy, it's very important to judge sort of where the characters are at and what's going to, you know, be a nice, equation. Here's the situation. Here's this character. We know this character's attributes. What's an equation that's going to produce a satisfying feeling, either dramatically or comedically? Pardon me. I'm burping because of the sun kiss. Took out the orange, kept the fun. Uh, the similar thing with magic is, and I don't mean to sound like uh, uh, mean or harsh, but judgment is a very rare commodity in magic. Sometimes it's the key thing that's lacking and keeping somebody from going to the next step or the next step, keeping them where they're at. And when I say judgment, I mean, well, if you want to buy an illusion or buy an expensive mentalist prop that uses the internet, um, you can save money and buy the prop. Or you have the money, you buy the prop. If you want to learn specific sleights, you can sit down with some very, very good teachers or books and, dedicate yourself and learn that sleight. Judgment you can't buy. Judgment you can't necessarily practice it because not every magician is good at giving themselves notes. That's why you see them do a routine that has the same bumpy part for 20 years.
Yeah.
So that thing, judgment, is a precious, precious thing. And eventually, I think if you do enough work, you start to trust your judgment. And then you can do, I think, very good things. Because, I worked more than 5 years with Michael Carbonaro as one of the producers of the Carbonaro Effect, which was the definition of uh, magic on a timeline, effects on a timeline. And we could not buy tricks from a catalog because in the context of the show, there is no magic trick. The idea was a mark, an unsuspecting person thinks they're just living their life and something unusual happens. It could be a product with a bizarre attribute they didn't know about. It could just be a weird happening like deja vu or a sighting of a mermaid. But they have to believe it's really happening. So there's no magic trick, and they have to believe they're not in the presence of a magician. Michael would be, expertly performing the role of a coworker or the clerk at a place or the employer, never a magician. So that takes away almost all of the magic catalog because most magic tricks are I'm a magician, I'm showing you a trick on some level. The audience knows they're seeing a trick performed by a magician. So there wasn't a lot we could buy. I would say half a dozen tricks and over 100 episodes, not many things you could buy. And we had to work on a schedule, turning out a lot of material. But I had a comfort level at that point. And even if something wasn't working at all, and I came up with, 4 horrible methods, waking up at 5 in the morning, going to the magic room, and trying this thing out and putting it on video. Uh, you get to a point where you go, you know what? It's good. I'm failing now on Tuesday because we don't shoot it till Friday. This is going to work. I just have to, because I'm using judgment that I'm in the right area. I haven't quite figured out the right combination, and I'm smelling success. It doesn't seem too outlandish. Sometimes I have people come in, and again, it's just that they didn't have maybe as much experience, and so they'd have an idea that would charitably be called fanciful. And they get very excited about it, pitching it. But don't you see? If we put chocolate syrup on the whole floor, we can make it look like it's like, that's probably not going to happen. We're shooting 4 a day, whatever the thing is. There's always something that, I'm in some weird magic, I'm excited level sounded like it's never been done. No one's ever put chocolate syrup over the entire floor, and it looked like a floor to them. Both guys. And you think, you know what? You have to be the killer of dreams.
I appreciate you bringing up the Carbonaro Effect because I was actually headed there next in my questions, and I'm also getting a little bit of a sense that there's going to be some person who listens to this episode and goes, "I was the chocolate syrup guy. I'm the one who pitched that."
I changed the specific. I never want to be mean to anybody.
Oh, no, not at all. But it must have been, uh, I first of all, I really like this concept of judgment, and developing your judgment is what helps you to find the way with a trick. And I have to imagine that because of what you just described, because of the format of the Carbonaro Effect, you were having to reformulate your judgment on how to create a magic effect almost in real time in the early days of it.
Well, we do the pre-production in Los Angeles, which means conceptualize the entire season. And the way I preferred to do it was, and I consider this working from a position of strength, I would write a first draft of, I'd populate the entire season, but then we'd have a small group and I'd assign them the same task I assigned myself. Here are the locations that we got approved, that the production company feels we can get into. So we're always writing to a location in that show.
Mhm.
Um, I came up with some bits. Some of them are kind of weak. Please come up with better ones. And then we'd all get together. And, you know, I think good quality I have is I'm really for the best idea.
Mhm.
Oh, why don't we put these two together? Oh, mine's no good. Yours is much better. But can we combine it? Whatever it is, it's just whatever's going to be best. There's no weird agenda with me. What seems best? Yeah. Uh, Very seldom will we have a spirited difference of opinion of someone going, no, no, this is great. Normally you can tell which ones are good. And on top of that, we could look through, the binder of everything we haven't shot yet. And with, I'd say 95% accuracy, circle the good ones. They haven't been shot yet, but they were so sturdy in concept. Yeah, we'd be surprised. Sometimes one we thought would be great wouldn't be as great as we thought, or one we thought would be okay turned out to be a monster great one. but 90% of the time, 95% of the time, you could see it on paper.
Mhm.
That's how resilient they were conceptually. Sometimes we didn't have the method yet, but they're just resilient conceptually. And all magic is written. Uh, I think because we are secret centric, we tend to think, oh, I have the secret. Now I can do the trick. But the secret, whether it's sleight of hand or whether it's some gizmo, the secret's just what you need to continue. It's like, yeah, there has to be a method, and that's the secret is going to be the method. But the method is not the effect. We decide what the effect is. We know magic is written because we're not really doing magic. At least I'm not, Eric. I'm not actually doing magic.
I don't know.
So
I've seen some of your tricks that are pretty good.
thank you. But I mean, we're presenting
Yep.
a work of fiction,
Yeah.
and fiction is written, so magic is written. And so we have the secret, but we have to determine what that effect is. And that's what we would do, in the writing sessions for the Carbonaro Effect. And then we got pretty sophisticated at writing for an actor that didn't know they were an actor. Some of the bits we did, only one an episode, were big bits and audacious concepts, long bits, and a location where we were just doing one thing. And some of them were ornate, where when I wrote it up, all the beats would be there, and they would include the actions of the mark. And remember, the mark is, they don't think they're on TV and they're not an actor. But we would write tricks that only worked if the mark did this, looked over there, and picked up that.
Mhm.
And we got good at that. And that's fascinating because when you have someone who doesn't realize they're playing a role and they're playing it according to the script, you sort of look at each other and go, okay. Crazy.
It sounds like maybe one of the things that you learned early on in your television writing career and that you used to great effect in the Carbonaro Effect is an ability to collaborate with people. And collaborating creatively sounds like something that is a skill that you very specifically honed to get good at doing not just that kind of magic, but that kind of writing. I mean, predicting the actions of somebody experiencing these crazy things that happen in the Carbonaro Effect.
Yeah, and we would
Is
be surprised, but for better and worse. It's not like you're never perfect. And when people ask me about writing for like series, episodic writing,
Mhm.
um, I always say, and this goes true for the Carbonaro Effect, uh, good writers are pretty good at guessing. In other words, if you're bad, if your instincts are just bad and everything you want to do is really the wrong thing to do in that situation and the wrong place to take the story, you're a bad writer. But if you're a pretty good guesser, you're a pretty good writer because that's what's going on in the writer's room. You're thinking about the situation and you're making an educated guess. And so, in the context of episodic scripted writing, I feel you can tell a good idea. I think the room can tell a good idea, uh, wherever it comes from. Can be from the new guy, can be from the boss. People can sort of smell it. Rooms get beat up, and people could pitch forever, but everyone's just glazed over at that point, and because people have lost their ability to judge. But it's really about being a good guesser. Same thing with the Carbonara Effect. You sort of refine your guesswork. And it gets to a point where, we were absolutely able to, with reliability, do some of these, more involved pieces. And what you see on TV isn't, of course, the entirety of the piece. Sometimes Michael would talk to somebody for half an hour in the environment just to get them to a place of, deep immersion
Mhm.
before we actually get into the context of the piece.
Hmm.
Short ones weren't like that, but some of the longer ones, yeah, if you're show up for a job as a landscaper, but you're actually the mark. Well, maybe you're going to plant a few plants before we get into the, oh, you're having a crazy day stuff.
That's I mean, that really speaks to not just the commitment of Michael, but the entire team if you're doing something like that. And I'm sure that that's where accusations of, oh, these are edited or people are in on it come from, is because you can't show that kind of stuff.
Well, it was a deep collaboration because it's a small team, and some of the elaborate bits did involve everybody. I mean, everybody doing a little something to sort of make the pieces of the puzzle come together. And a lot of it we were doing, well, all of it was doing with the mark present. So it's one thing to have an assistant that you don't see. That's common in a magic show. But we were in real locations with sometimes the entire magic team helping make some, weird event happen. And it's a good feeling, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a fraternal feeling because we were so nervous and so exhausted. Everyone was upset making the show because it was such hard work. If we went out to get that one bit we needed, the big one, we had to get it that day. We only had one day and we got it, and we generally got it. It's not like we'd be in the van typically going high fiving. We'd be going, okay, we got it. What's tomorrow?
I
So,
I feel I identify with that very much from filming on the streets with Penguin.
oh yeah.
Yeah, you get home at the end of the day, you're not high fiving, you're just going, what do we have to film tomorrow?
But
I
we all loved magic,
Mhm.
and we all loved the show, and I think that's why, in the end of the day, it worked because it was very emotional for everyone. We're in general away from the people we loved and people that were our sort of lifelines because we weren't shooting in Los Angeles; we were always shooting somewhere else, and you're working to a place of potential failure. Always, it's not a trick you've done 1,000 times. It's something you figured out on Monday and you rehearse it a couple of times during the week and you think you're ready to do it and you have to be ready. Uh, so there's always that risk of failure. And sometimes you do fail. We didn't air the ones that failed. Though that's not true. In some of the specials, we aired failures. Uh, and there's no applause. If it worked, we look at each other and go, I think we got it, or that's going to be the one. Uh, and that's not it. So you don't get that rush of adrenaline that an audience gives you.
Mhm.
It's a weird environment. You show up there, you're nervous, you hope it works. You got 3 of the 4, that's good enough. Okay, what's up for tomorrow? Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, you've published an incredible amount of magic. How and I'm sure some of the answer to this is judgment and experience, but how do you decide the pieces that you want to keep for yourself and the pieces you want to share with the magic community?
I'm in magic from in a different, I come into magic differently than some people. I come into it as a guy who wants to sort of contribute to this craft, this performing art that, I've always been in love with. And so if I contribute in some way and someone does one of my tricks, I'm thrilled.
Mhm.
Uh, I did, it's funny, when I was with a comedy group, I had more performances than my magic friends. Then I became a TV writer. I was doing less magic performances than my magic friends. And now I'm in a place where I just love it when something gets some traction. When something gets traction, it's its own life. And you don't necessarily know why certain ones gain traction, but I came up with a clarity box, and it wasn't very long before Dynamo was doing it on television. And you look at that and you go, wow, because I'm sitting on my ass in Burbank and they just get their own life. When I came out with the long and short of it, which is an optical illusion kind of magic trick thing, like a 12-year-old girl, a girl who was 12 at the time, who has a TikTok channel doing magic tricks, sent me a link to her doing this magic trick in the UK. And similarly, on that same trick, I'm on the Alakazam mailing list. I'm on the Penguin mailing list too, don't worry. I'm on everybody's mailing list, including some strange people that think I have a problem with my prostate. But I'm on a lot of mailing lists. And you wake up in the morning and you're scrolling through emails and it says, from Alakazam, 1 million hits or 1 million views? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm going, what the hell got 1 million views? And I click it and it's my trick. And that to me is thrilling because it's not 1 million magicians watching it. It's a lot of regular people. And it's a funny trick. The long and short of it is the name of the trick. And it's amusing. So that means, wow, that's like writing for a sitcom because 1 million people just laughed. And so, look, I was like everybody, very focused on trying to survive in the world. I took every gig that was ever offered to me for a very, very long time. And so, yeah, I know what it's like to really want to make a living. But now, as I'm older, life has changed. And I love the attempt to remain relevant to the world and contribute to the world in some ways. When that happens, I'm very happy about it. I don't want my magic projects to lose money because I don't think that's fair to my wife and kids.
Mhm.
But now my life has changed. Now I've become 15 again or 12. And magic is just this very pure sanctuary for me. And it's the exact same feeling I had of excitement coupled with what sounds like the opposite, peace. But it's this, weird combination. It's just a very tranquil yet exciting place for me to be. And I'd be lost without it. Absolutely lost. Thank God I live near the Magic Castle. These tariffs hurt me because most things are made not in America. America's not even equipped to make the kinds of things we make. So I would hate to lose that. Not because it's some great source of income, but because it keeps me connected.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's a really beautiful thought to that's what drives you, is to contribute, give back, and to stay connected with people. David, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. I'm gonna let you go because I know we've got a time limit on these, but I would love to have.
No, it doesn't have a time limit. Suncast. Suncast. Suncast? Suncast is the new network.
Oh,
Oh my God.
thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your history, and of course, the precious, precious brand that is Sunkist. Thanks so much. That's going to do it for this week, kids. Thanks so much to David for being on the show, and thanks to you for listening. If you hadn't had an opportunity to check out David's incredible work on the Carbonaro Effect, you should really take a look. It's some pretty amazing stuff. Next week, I look forward to joining all of the Penguin fans at the Atlanta Harvest of Magic. I'll be joining Lucy Darling, Carl Hine, and a host of other magicians for an incredible convention. On a personal note, I made a small announcement on my Facebook page that hundreds of listeners very positively commented on, and I'm deeply touched by your support. Even though regular listeners to the show are already well aware and not surprised at all. The support is still noted and appreciated. For listeners who aren't interested in knowing about personal matters, I encourage you to engage with me on YouTube and Instagram, where I keep it all magic all the time. As always, we're a weekly podcast, so be sure to like and subscribe, as well as share your favorite episodes on the social media platform that you are looking for adorable pictures of puppies on. If you wanted to reach out to me about anything on this week's show, you're going to have to get an invitation to Rocco's birthday party. My little buddy turns 6 years old on Tuesday, and we are celebrating his whole birthday week because he's a funny little puppy. But if celebrating Chihuahua's birthday isn't your cup of tea, you can always hit me up on Instagram at Eric Tate. That's at ERIKTAIT. From me and everyone else here at the P3 Magic Studios, practice, practice, perform.